In this episode of the Courageous Public Health Podcast, Corinna Kelley shares what it looks like to practice courage by staying in uncertainty, sitting in discomfort long enough to rediscover who you are becoming. From leaving a full-time role to stepping into consulting without a clear plan to sharing her story on stage, Corinna reflects on how growth happens, not by avoiding discomfort, but by learning to stay with it. This conversation is about courage, identity, and transformation, and what it takes to lead from within. You're listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast, episode 53. To all the courageous women leading in public health, this podcast is your space to turn up the volume on your courage. This space centers your voice. This space celebrates your passion. This space amplifies your courage. My role? To listen, to amplify, and to stand with you in the fight for equity. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock. I am an epidemiologist, consultant, the founder and CEO of Courageous Public Health, and the host of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Each week, I have real, unfiltered conversations with women in public health about the challenges you face, the power you hold, and your vision for the future. We talk about the authenticity, vulnerability, and courage that you bring, not just to public health, but to every part of your lives. Because courage is about action, even in fear. It's about taking up space, leading unapologetically, refusing to be erased, and knowing you never have to do it alone. If you're ready to turn up the volume on your courage, if you're ready to take up space, if you're ready to smash the racist, patriarchal, cisnormative, heteronormative, ableist, capitalistic systems, then listen to this new episode. Hello, and welcome to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Christy McClamrock. Over time, I have come to see something clearly. Courage is already everywhere in public health. It's just rarely named, supported, or treated as a leadership skill. Women are navigating complex systems, making high-stakes decisions, and holding a tremendous amount, often without the structures they need to do that work sustainably. Through Courageous Public Health, I partner with public health and other organizations to shift that, supporting leaders to act with clarity and integrity, even when the systems around them are under pressure. If you'd like to hear more about my why, you can revisit episode 1. In recent episodes, we've explored courage in deeply personal decisions and in speaking truth within systems. Today, we turn inward to what it takes to lead from within. Corinna Kelley is a leadership coach and speaker who supports mission-driven leaders navigating growth, transition, and expanded responsibility with clarity and aligned authority. With more than 20 years of experience in public health, Corinna has worked across healthcare systems, health departments, nonprofits, and community partnerships to advance health equity and improve outcomes. Drawing from her lived experience as a multiracial woman, veteran, and leader with non-apparent disabilities, she brings a deeply personal understanding of identity and leadership in complex environments. Through CREID consulting and coaching, she partners with organizations to strengthen leadership presence, support strategic partnerships, and develop leaders who can carry complex work with steadiness and sustainability. She holds a Master of Public Health in Healthcare Administration and an Executive Leadership Coaching Certificate from Georgetown University. Let's hear what courage looks like in uncertainty. Hi, everybody. I'm excited to present my guest today, Corinna Kelley. How's it going, Corinna?
Good. I'm so glad to see you again. We were just catching up a little bit before we got on, so it was nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I am talking about how I was a guest on your podcast. I think it's been like a couple years, right?
Yeah.
It's been a little while. And so at the time, doing a podcast wasn't even remotely on my radar. But it's funny that now I've followed in your footsteps and now I can have you on mine. So
yeah, no, definitely nice.
It's very cool. Very cool. Well, why don't we start by having you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you won't see on my bio and a little bit about me. So I identify as a multiracial woman. I'm half Black and half Mexican with Native American roots. I'm also a veteran and identify with non-apparent disabilities. And so I've born and raised in San Antonio, Texas, joined the military pretty young at 18 and got to do a little bit of traveling. So I would say, I do love to embrace in different cultures. I love to be creative. I'm a mother, so I'm always, out and active in different things. And so enjoy outdoor activities and really being out in nature and pushing myself to the limits. I'm very into different sports and activities. So I enjoy challenging myself physically as well as competition. So pickleball, if you're ever interested, it's very competitive. And good on my joints, so it doesn't hurt.
Competitive pickleball. I love it. That's great. Yeah. That is not something that would probably appear on your professional bio. So
nope.
Thank you so much.
We're in Florida, so it's big here. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's really funny. Okay, well, let's just jump into that first question, which is about courage. And I always like to remind everyone about the difference between bravery and courage. So bravery is taking action without fear, whereas courage is about taking action despite fear. And I think that, fear is a big component in all of our lives, right? And so I'd love to hear about some examples from your personal life, your professional life, where you've acted courageously.
Yeah. When I thought we were going to ask me this question, I was thinking about, well, what is courage and how does it show up for me, and what that really means. So I'll kind of define it a little bit differently and relate in ways. And
great.
I think, sitting in uncomfortability and being comfortable, but not too comfortable, to be able to find your way out, but being able to sit in uncomfortability for a long time to be able to find yourself. I think that's where courage for me kind of started. And, for in work, just recently, I was kind of letting you know, last year, I made a huge jump. I quit my job full time and went into my business consulting. And I think that was just, taking a leap without any plan. And just figuring things out. And I think through being able to sit on uncertainty, I've been able to create a path for that's more in alignment with who I am becoming now. And so there's a lot of shifts happening, with the business and just with myself, and a lot of reflection. And so I think personally stepping out of my, in life, I guess what courage I took. Last year I got on the stage at NatCon 2025 and I told my story about, feeling trapped in boxes, and things I went through personally, just with identity, leaving the military behind and how I had to reshape who I was and identify who I was. And so, actually a mindfulness-based stress reduction course, my final assignment, I had to do something creative. I put together a poem and that poem became my abstract. And that's what got me into that speech.
Wow.
And it was just it was soul searching. It was a way that I sat, it was funny because one of our last things we had to do was sit all day in silence, and we did meditations and sat outside in nature. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't sit still for 5 seconds, yet alone try to be there all day long in meditation mode. Like, not cool. And so I fought it for so long. And, I finally, I did it, and it was the best experience I think I've ever had, where I think things started pouring out of me that I didn't even understand. And that's where I found the story that I wanted to tell. It was the changes that I was feeling and embracing and finally reflecting on. And so I got up and told about just, on the stage about being multiracial, what it felt like to feel, the expectations and the assumptions of who I should be, and then being in the military and what those were as well, to where I didn't know who I was, to how that shaped me in the direction of, being able to, I think, reflect and find out, take the courage to step out and to rediscover.
That is beautiful. So it's so funny that you're talking about this silent workshop, right? Silent meditation. This was a number of years ago, but I signed up to do a meditation workshop. It was for a weekend, and somehow when I read it, I totally missed the word silent. Like I just like read right over it and didn't process. I didn't understand. I mean, I just didn't make its way into my brain. And I got there and they were like, yeah, it's like a weekend of silent meditation. And I had the same exact reaction. I'm like, I can't, no way. There's no way I can't possibly do this. And then I did it, and it was really profound. It was a really incredible experience. And so that's, yes, I completely, understand what you're saying about how that actually opened something up in you, which is fantastic. And like, I love that you submitted an abstract that was the poem that you had written. That's very creative and out of the box. And I'm glad that they then accepted the abstract and like had you come and talk. We need more of that. Yeah. Thinking outside of the box. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And certainly, this idea of identity and we all identify in lots of different ways, right? But having, identifying with multiple races and then identifying as a veteran. I mean, I can see that those are really important distinctions, right? And important parts of your life that impact everything you do, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in, I think I said a little bit, but I'm in a Georgetown University coaching program. And this program is very different than anything I've ever gone through, because it is one of the things they said, not only is it very intense, hard to get into, but it is also, it creates the environment to where you have to go through the change in order for you to help change anyone or to support anyone's change and transformation. And we are literally first day in, the whole class of like 35 of us are in tears because we're sharing real personal stories. Yeah. We are opening up about identity, cultural lens, and our unique cultural lens and how that shapes how we see the world and perceive things and move throughout. And then how we sit with people who may be from different backgrounds and how we sit with them and support them. And one incredible thing that we kind of talked about this last week was showing love for every one of your clients that you sit with and coach. And it's like, if you can't show them love, then it's going to be hard for you to coach, because you have to sit with them in that uncomfortability. You have to be empathetic to what they are going through and not have the answer, or if you do, not share it, because it's not your answer to solve. And so it's sitting in uncomfortability. It's sitting with I don't know the answer, but I'm going to sit with you until we can walk to this together in the dark. And so I just learned a lot about, like I said, culture, even though it had always been a part of my life, but seeing it from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of, for some therapists, right? Like they need to go through their own therapy first before they become therapists. I know that's not true for all of them. But it reminds me of that. Like you have to be able to be the one laying on the couch talking about yourself to then be able to help someone else to do that. So that's, I love that. I love that model for coaching. And and being able to just and being able to just be with your client in whatever it is that they're going through and not trying to fix their problem, right? It's like supporting them to figure out their solutions or not even just to sit in the feeling sometimes, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's, when you don't do this, and I think the whole reason I got into this is because, I've been in public health for so long and, and doing this type of work serving in the military where it's service first. And we put a lot of, one of my core values in the military was service before self and then excellence in everything we do. That was something we took into account. So then translating into public health and how we serve the community and how I've been working in that community health space, I've just seen some of the, drain that people are working in and the conditions that we're creating in the environment. And so, this program is really focused on like leadership coaching and being able to support these leaders so that they can create those conditions and environments for everyone else that they, work with and support. And so I think that one thing with coaching is that, and I'm kind of teaching, is that leading with curiosity.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Being curious versus solving. And being a consultant for so many years and strategy, it's a whole mind shift. It's not like I need to grow more skills inward. It's I need to expand my mind or, horizontally to think about, okay, well, now I don't solve. I'm not solving for you. I'm not creating those. And so I'm working with you, co-creating.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea of service before self. And then you start this program and it sounds like they kind of flipped it where it was like, so first we're actually going to start with self.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to service. Like that's very cool. That's a very cool model.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So, I'm glad that you gave a slightly different definition for courage, right? About sitting in uncomfortability and, this idea that, there's no growth in the comfort zone, right? Growth happens in the discomfort zone, right? Not the dysregulated zone. You have to be dysregulated, but it's got to be a little bit out of your comfort zone. So I'm glad that you talked about that being part of the way that you envision courage. I think the other way that I think about courage is, in terms of authenticity and claiming and expressing your power, right? And I know that a lot of times we work in spaces that don't always welcome that. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you express and embody your courage and, if there are certain challenges that you faced in doing that, what kind of strategies have been helpful to you?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I talked to somebody about this before, and it was, what was one of the things that I think was the hardest, challenge is, it's being a multiracial woman in career fields, or a veteran. And, honestly, it was harder transitioning as a veteran, and finding, I think, the authenticity, as you mentioned, what was that, after service. And when you sit in that space of, I've always led, by being what people wanted me to be, by showing up the way that they would expected of me. And so I think what I did is, it took that time and to step outside of the box and to really look at what it was that who I was, and to accept it. And so in order to lead, authentically, I had to accept myself for everything, flaws and the good, and be okay in what I bring. And so what I learned is that my diversity was a strength, that being able to have walked in all these different paths was a strength and was not something to look, down upon. I think that helped me be able to lead more authentically, to be able to show up as myself and be okay of failure, be okay with admitting, and being accountable for things. So it allowed all of those aspects.
And that's, admitting admitting our failures, or even maybe not all the way to failure, but like, our less great moments,
Moments, yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
moments where we're not necessarily in our vision or in our values. That's challenging. And I do think that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, no, just for, thinking about that and, before I kind of came into this program, a big part of me, is like we talk about imposter syndrome. I'm like, I hate that term. I hate when people say imposter syndrome. But I think it just lives within us. It's just we just have that self-doubt every once in a while, but it's a stage. It's a phase. It's not something it defines who we are.
It's not a syndrome.
It's not a syndrome. Yes, you're okay. We'll get through it. But it was, the fear of going back into like a leadership role. I had left the military and was like, wow, this was a lot. We did things very differently and it was draining. And so the idea of going back into like coaching now leaders and, being in positions of this, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I could do this. And I actually got recommended by people who looked at me as somebody who was, being able to coach and lead and guide them. And those were the people that recommended me for this and this program. And I had to stop and really go back to look at those letters and think like, okay, but they see me this way. Why is it I can't see myself in the same view, in this perspective? And so I think that takes a lot of just, being okay to be able to take in some of the great things that you bring to other people. And, we have to kind of sit back and take that in, and be okay with it. And so that was kind of a learning lesson and moment, that I've experienced recently. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm very excited, for the next question. This is one of my favorite. I mean, I love all the questions, but this is, I am partial to this one about vision and about vision, vision for the future. So, I'd love to hear about your vision for public health. I'd love to hear about your vision for the communities that you are part of, however you want to define that, and also what your personal vision is. Vision for your own future.
Yeah. So my vision, we start with public health. So I've been public health for 20 years and I feel like it's just a part of me. So it's hard to say, like split that from my personal when it's just been part of what I've been doing for as long as almost I've been alive, I've been doing this forever.
Yes.
And so I think in embodying that, what I want to see and support with, to help with is sustainability and growth beyond ourselves. And so looking kind of like at stewardship of what endures after we are gone and how we can leave things behind and support the growth of other future generations. And so it starts with how we lead ourselves and supporting those leaders, be able to create the space like you did today. Create the space for us is creating the space for them to be able to reflect and to be able to create sustainable rhythms for themselves, that they can create that environment and clarity for their teams and then for the future. So we have that continuity. And we teach people how to lead versus how to manage, which is very different. And so kind of being able to encourage that in this next generation of leaders, be able to support is something that I envision and hope to see, like I said, in the future. And then I think if I looked at it personally, what is it that I want to do? I think I'm living it. I think it's hard to see the future when I feel like I'm shaping it at this point. And things can change and things can go different ways. But where I feel in alignment is that I'm in my calling of what I'm supposed to do and supporting others, but also creating those boundaries and space for myself, and for the things that I enjoy, which are my family and kids, and make sure I have time for those things. So I think that the vision for myself is to continue growing, but not necessarily growing vertically, growing horizontally, growing mindset, capacity, being able to learn from others.
Yeah. I really like this idea of growing horizontally. It's not, I don't know if I've heard that term before, but I like that. It's like, I usually think of, this sort of expansion, like being my full self, right? And every time I say that, people who are listening and not watching the video, I'm like stretching my arms out to the sides. So, but that is that horizontal growth. And also that you said, I'm shaping my future right now. Like you're shaping your future in the present. That's really powerful. And that there are a lot of ways in which we do get to shape our futures.
Yeah. And be part of the journey that, it kind of takes you, and being able to, I call it flow. There's a book that I had read, and it was Be Water, My Friend. It's about Bruce Lee's life, and his daughter wrote it. And, it was just it was how he moved through life and the lessons that he learned in martial arts and how it applies to a lot of things. And it was, be water, be formless, be shapeless, be able to adapt and move. And so I think I try to embody that, to be able to be flexible in changing times, which is definitely needed. And so to teach that, to support that, I think it's powerful, because if you can stay fluid, if you can be formless and shape, then and flow, I think it does help with adaptability.
That's great. I'm going to have to go check that book out. That sounds really interesting. And, so I can completely imagine Bruce Lee and his martial arts moves. So much fluidity. And then I also got a flash of like Matrix, like Keanu Reeves. It's like,
I can't do all that, but yes.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's nice to reconnect with you and see you. And, now as I said, I'm like following in your footsteps of podcaster. So it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah. You're creating your own footsteps.
I'm creating my own footsteps. That's right. That's true.
Thank you for what you do for everyone and having them on. I've been listening to it's different, conversations, and they're very encouraging. So
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I want to make sure that our listeners know the best way to connect with you. So what is that? What's the best way?
So my LinkedIn, I'm pretty on there regularly, and I think it's just Corinna Kelley, Corinna, and then Kelley, Kelley. And so I'm collecting with a lot of professionals, and then, my email, it can be Corinna Kelley at, creedconsultingllc.com.
Okay.
And I'm starting to use social media a little bit more, not TikTok yet. Well, I have a TikTok, so you can find me on there, but I don't post it as often. And I'm not dancing. You don't want to see me dance.
Not yet.
But I do have a TikTok and do get on there every once in a while. And I think it's Corinna Creates Change.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, great.
And then you can find me on Facebook as well.
And Facebook. Okay, great. So we'll put all of those links in the show notes, so they're easy to get to and easy to access, easy to connect with you. That's great.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much again. And I'm excited to see what comes next for you, especially with your coaching. That's really, really very cool.
Yeah. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you as well and staying in touch longer than, closer than 3 years apart.
That's right. Definitely. Sometimes courage is staying in the discomfort long enough to understand what it's trying to teach you. Sometimes courage is stepping into the unknown without a clear plan and trusting yourself to figure it out. Sometimes courage is choosing growth, even when it means letting go of who you thought you were. Corinna Kelley reminds us that courage isn't about having the answers. It's about being willing to sit in uncertainty and grow through it. If this conversation made you think about the women on your team, your organization, or your own leadership, this is exactly the work we do through Courageous Public Health. We partner with organizations to offer facilitated, interactive, virtual workshops for women leaders in public health, turning courage into a leadership skill so it can become an organizational strength. Because in today's public health landscape, fear-based leadership costs organizations staff retention, community trust, and their ability to respond when it matters the most. Interested? Reach out. Links to connect with us are in the show notes. Until our next episode, stay courageous. Thank you for listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Visit courageouspublichealth.com to find the show notes for each episode and learn how to connect with us.